Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait maybe 30 more seconds for folks to filter in, but thanks for coming today. Good morning, Trish. Thanks for joining us. And folks, feel free to use the chat to interact with the session, but we will be having a Q&A period at the end um, for any official questions. Good morning. Okay, let's get started. So today's webinar is on learning to use a free platform called Ready Rating. And thank you so much for joining us. And the session is part of Prepared Together Canadian Red Cross Disaster Preparedness Virtual Learning Series. And today's session is presented in English. The spring and summer of 2024 are predicted to bring an unprecedented level of intensity for emergencies across the country. And the goal of the Canadian Red Cross Disaster Preparedness Series is to support people and communities to prepare for, increase their resilience to, and respond to future disasters. We are hosting learning sessions throughout the summer in both English and French, and you can use the QR code on your screen to visit our website to learn more about and register for our other programming over July. And our programming for August will be released in the next couple of weeks. And here are the links in case you don't have access to use QR codes today. And just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. And sorry, I'm just going to look at Francisca's comment. Recordings are available on your website. Yes, absolutely. So we've actually moved our recordings to a YouTube playlist, Francisca. So we will be sure to share that. So thanks so much for your question. And today's webinar, yes, is recorded. And so we'll be doing that to send that to all registrants. Closed captioning is also available in both English and French. Just click the button in your Zoom control panel and we will be having a Q&A period. So just to make sure that your question definitely gets seen and answered, please leave it in the Q&A box in your control panel rather than the chat. And there also will be a feedback survey that launches on your browser once you exit today's webinar. And we really appreciate your input on how we did today. Resource packages from all of our sessions in this series will also be available on the CRC website. Not yet, but it's a work in progress, and we'll have that up as soon as we can. And this slide deck will be included in those resources. Any questions about today's programming, and if you want to reach us, you can email us at rrr@redcross.ca. And we acknowledge that much of our work in Canada is on the traditional treaty and unceded territories, home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Each of us resides on the traditional land of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the shared history of Indigenous peoples and settlers in this land with the goal of reconciliation. Please, everyone, can we take a moment and share in the Zoom chat where we are from or living today? Moments like this allow us to connect in the spirit of collaboration, friendship, and reconciliation to value the ways of being, knowing, and learning of all Indigenous peoples and nations across Turtle Island. So please, if you're able to just share in the chat box from where you reside and from where you are joining us today. Thank you, Trish. Thanks for sharing. And folks can continue to do that as a way to introduce each other, to see who's joining us and from where. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for continuing to do that. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies has seen fundamental principles, which we also honor in Canada. Interestingly, these principles align with Indigenous peoples of Canada's 7 sacred teachings. Where I reside on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe peoples, these are also known as the grandfather teachings of wisdom, love, respect, bravery, honesty, humility, and truth. All right. So that's it for the housekeeping. And I'd like to introduce now Emily Rideout, who is our presenter for today. Thanks so much, Emily.
Thanks, April. I'm just going to take a second to share my screen with you all. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here today. My name is Emily Rideout, and I'm a senior manager with the Disaster Risk Reduction and Climate Change Adaptation team at the Canadian Red Cross. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm calling in today from the unceded and ancestral territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe, now known as Ottawa. So the purpose of this session today is to tell you about a great new emergency preparedness planning platform that the Canadian Red Cross has just launched called Ready Rating. I'll tell you why this program is needed, who can use it, how it works, and then I'll give you a tour of the platform. And as April said, we'll have some time for Q&A. So why is this program needed? As April alluded to, we're experiencing an unprecedented level of emergencies and disasters in Canada. And at the Red Cross, we're intimately familiar with this context, but there's been a trend in recent years wherein these risks are increasing in frequency and severity. In 2022 and 2023, in fact, damage from severe weather to Canadian society equaled $3.1 billion. Flooding causes an annual $1.5 billion in damage to property in Canada. And we can think of the BC heat dome in 2021, which was the deadliest natural disaster in Canadian history. On top of that, as much as 50% or more of losses that people experience are not covered by insurance. It's not necessarily going to save the day. And so this is the sort of context that we're operating in these days. In the past, the Red Cross primarily responded to international crises, but a large portion of our response now occurs in Canada because of these trends. So while natural disasters have always been around, they're getting worse. At the same time, the majority of organizations and small businesses are not prepared for these emergencies. 68% of small businesses in the US lack a disaster recovery plan. Almost half of small businesses would take 3 months or more to recover from a disaster, and a quarter of small businesses never reopen after a disaster. And while these are US statistics, we believe that organizations in Canada are in a similar situation. And there's several reasons for this lack of preparedness. For small businesses, nonprofits, community organizations, there may be limited capacity in terms of funding to have dedicated staff or to hire consultants to support emergency management planning. And of course, there just aren't enough hours in the day. And so many smaller organizations may not be as prepared for disasters as they could be. At the same time, preparedness is the best way to limit emergency response required by an organization and by the Red Cross. A recent study found that every dollar invested in emergency preparedness results in up to $15 in savings post-disaster. And organizations with an emergency preparedness plan are able to demonstrate their commitment to safety to their clients and customers, staff, volunteers, and partners. They're often able to enhance productivity or more effectively meet their mandate and minimize losses. So knowing that emergencies happen and are happening more frequently and more severely, and knowing that many businesses and organizations aren't prepared, the Canadian Red Cross wanted to offer a service that would make emergency preparedness planning easier for small and medium-sized businesses and community organizations. So we are leveraging an American Red Cross program that does just that. So with that, I'd like to tell you about the Ready Rating platform, just recently available in Canada, a platform that can make emergency planning easier for your business or organization. So the Ready Rating program, it's a free, user-friendly online platform is designed to help organizations and businesses improve their emergency preparedness levels. Ready Rating members have access to assessments about the state of their readiness, emergency action plan templates, and guides to help them evaluate and improve their ability to withstand a disaster, maintain operations, and most importantly, protect lives. So who can use the Ready Rating platform? The answer is anybody. As I said, it's a free platform. So any organization of any size is welcome to use it. But it was developed to really meet the needs of small to medium-sized businesses, schools and educational institutions, and community organizations, including nonprofits, social enterprises, faith-based and cultural-based organizations, and even government agencies, potentially. So the Ready Rating program or platform has been run by the American Red Cross for about 15 years now, and we've just rolled it out in Canada on July 2nd. It's available in both official languages. So next, I'd like to tell you about some of the main features of the Ready Rating platform. And then, as I said, I will provide a tour at the end so you can really see what this platform looks like. Okay, so there are 4 core components to the Ready Rating platform. There is an assessment, a next steps report, an emergency action plan template, and a resource center. And each of these 4 components is founded on 5 focus areas or 5 themes of participation, emergency planning, facility and equipment, training and exercises, and engaging the extended community. So I'll walk you through each of the 4 core components of Ready Rating. Just reiterating here who may wish to use Ready Rating. So the first component is as I said, the assessment. So there's actually 2 assessments, Ready Go and Ready Advance. Ready Go is a 20-question assessment, and it focuses on asking questions related to the core functions of emergency preparedness planning. And it takes about 15 to 30 minutes to complete. So these questions, you'll get a glimpse of these in just a few minutes, but really ask about, emergency preparedness planning, emergency response committees, first aid training, first aid supplies, and so on. The Ready Advance assessment is those same 20 questions from the Ready Go assessment with an additional 30. And it's a more comprehensive set of questions, and it takes about 45 minutes to 60 minutes to complete. And so if you are an organization that is just starting its preparedness efforts, Ready Go is a great place to start. But if you are an organization that already has an emergency planning approach in place, but you want to go deeper and make sure that you're really prepared, the Ready Advance assessment provides more in-depth overview of where your organization is at in terms of emergency preparedness planning. So the second component of Ready Rating is the next steps report. So when you complete an assessment for your organization, you are able to access a next steps report. And each report is, as I said, based on what you reply or what you responded in the assessment. And it provides a measurement of your organization's level of preparedness in terms of a percentage score out of 100. It also includes some recommended actions and tips that your organization can take to increase your preparedness and improve your score over time. And it also provides links to recommended tools in the Ready Rating Resource Center. So I have a couple of screenshots I can show you here. So this is the sort of the first page, the dashboard of the next steps report. This is for a fake account I've created, and you can see that in the assessment I completed, I scored 24% out of 100%. And Ready Rating has deemed that further improvement is recommended with a score like this. And it also shows the specific score in the 5 different thematic areas I mentioned earlier. And it also shows me how many stars out of 4 I have. So one neat aspect of the Ready Rating platform is this star system, and you can earn a star for creating a membership, for completing an assessment, for downloading an emergency action plan, which I'll show you in a moment. And then that 4th star, that red one, turns green if you come back and do an assessment again, at least annually. And I'll show you another benefit of doing reassessing every year. But the whole platform is designed so that organizations will do an initial assessment and then come back and reassess, ideally showing improvement and increasing scores over time. Here's another screenshot from a next steps report. So you can see the question that was asked here. Does our organization have an emergency response planning committee? In this example, the organization answered no, pardon me. And then here we have some action steps that are recommended for this organization to take to be able to come back and answer yes to this question in the future. And we have a couple of resources here in the Ready Rating Resource Center that could potentially help improve in this area. So the third component of Ready Rating is the emergency action plan template. So creating an emergency action plan can potentially be a daunting endeavor for an organization if they are starting from scratch. And this emergency action plan, or EAP template generator, essentially provides wording for an emergency action plan. And like with the assessments, we have two versions. We have the EAP Go template, which has, I believe, 6 topics, 6 core topics for emergency action planning. And it meets the minimum best practice requirement for emergency action plans. The EAP Advanced template allows you to add up to an additional 70 topics, depending on your organization's needs. So these topics can be related to specific hazards or just different general emergency preparedness topics that your organization may wish to speak to in its plan. So I'll show you a picture of this generator. And again, you'll see this when I give the tour. So I'll just move over this one quickly. So the fourth element of the Ready Rating platform, and one that I think is so helpful, is the Ready Rating Resource Center. So this is essentially a library of more than 70 actionable resources. When I say actionable, I mean that these are downloadable and they're very practical for organizations to use. So there's over 25 sort of how-to or expert videos that explain different topics. There are a large number of checklists or sample forms, as well as guidelines that organizations can access. And there's also sort of promotional materials like a presentation deck that you could use to present Ready Rating to your senior management, to your colleagues. So I want to show you just a screenshot here. Again, we'll see this on the tour. This is just a sneak peek at what the Resource Center looks like, but it's an excellent set of tools. So those are the 4 components of Ready Rating. But I want to tell you a little bit about why Ready Rating is unique and why it makes such a great support tool for organizations to do emergency preparedness planning. So first of all, it's free. It's open to anybody. And all of the preparedness recommendations, the way that the assessments are framed and the next steps report, the emergency action plan template, are all grounded in scientific research and expert opinion from professionals within the Red Cross's Scientific Advisory Council. Ready Rating also makes preparedness measurable. It gives your organization a score that you can take to senior management and say, you know, look, we have some areas to improve in. And it provides, as I said, some really great, really practical tools and resources to help an organization improve in areas where they see some opportunities for growth. There is one other benefit. So I mentioned there's the STAR system. You earn 4 stars for joining, completing an assessment, downloading an emergency action plan template, and that 4th star is for coming back and completing an assessment again at least once a year. You can come back and assess as often as you would like, but if you do it a minimum of once a year, members are eligible to access this member seal. So you can download this seal from the website once you're a member and you've completed your assessments. It comes in a number of formats, and members are permitted to display this on their website or possibly in the window of their facility to show that they are a member of the Ready Rating program and that emergency preparedness planning is important to the organization. So as I said, to get this seal year after year, you need to come back and complete your assessment on an annual basis. So as I mentioned, this is an American Red Cross platform. And we've heard some great things about how it's been going there in the US for the past approximately 15 years. So about 75% of Ready Rating members in the US have used this tool to update their emergency preparedness plans. 70% have educated their employees on preparedness in the workplace. Members have increased their preparedness scores by as much as 42%. And 93% rate the service as good to excellent. As I said, it's very user-friendly and it's meant to be used. There are many supports built into the platform to help you understand how to use it. And I'll show you those in a brief tour. So I will, I'm just gonna hop out of this presentation and I'll share my screen with you. Just 1 second. I'm just gonna log into the platform while I do this as well. Please hold on just 1 moment. Okay. So I think you should be able to see my screen now. So this is the Ready Rating dashboard. So I'm logged in. So this, when you create a membership, this is what you will see. And you can see I have my mock account here. So I just wanted to show you a few aspects of this platform that I think will be helpful in terms of using it. So I've just clicked here on the About page, and this page is very helpful in terms of providing a series of FAQs on the left, some information about the program history, some information about security measures, and some testimonials from existing users. The How It Works page is really great, and it's going to get better. This page has some written instructions here about the process of using the program, but very soon, we'll have a series of 5 excellent videos that will walk you through the different components that I described. So completing an assessment, completing or understanding the next steps report, downloading an emergency action plan template, and so on. So those videos are going to be really great. And again, will help you understand how to use this great platform. So I just want to show you, again, I'll go back to the member dashboard. So we saw some screenshots from some of the different elements of the platform, but I'd like to sort of show you how you might navigate to those. So again, I'm logged in, I'm in my member profile here. And you can see I have 3 of 4 stars. So I joined Ready Rating, and you'll see that I've completed an assessment and I've completed an emergency action plan. So down here are the assessments that I've completed. There's quite a few because this is a test account, but you can see that the second one is complete and it's my most current one. So I'm going to take a peek at that right now. So here is this most recent assessment that I did. So you can see here some of the questions that the assessment asks about. And you can answer yes or no. These little video icons will play a little video explaining what that topic is about. And you'll see that there's the questions are organized into those 5 categories I mentioned earlier: participation, emergency planning, facility and equipment, training and exercises, and extended community. So this assessment that I'm looking at is, you can see here, the Ready Advanced assessment. So this is the longer one. It is 50 questions. And if you wanted to select the shorter one, you could click here and it would kick you into a new assessment. Now, I won't sort of show you all of the questions here, but you can see I've answered yes and no to many of the questions. And at the top, it is populating my score. So based on the questions that I answered yes to, and again, this is just a mock version, I got a score of 18%. And so every time you click yes to a question, that score goes up. And so ideally, you're aiming for a 100% score in the assessment that you choose, whether Ready Advanced or Ready Go. So I've completed this assessment. And so you can see here in red that a next steps report is now available to me. So that's going to take me over to my next steps report viewer. Now, you can kind of look at this report 2 ways. One here is in this web viewer. You can scroll through the document. Here's the dashboard that I showed you. And then it gets into, here's the question that the assessment asked, and then some tips for what an organization can do to improve, and then links to a couple of resources in the resource center. And so depending on how many questions you answered no to in the assessment will determine sort of the length of this next steps report. And then you can also see on the left here that you can download the report. So you can take that away and share it with senior management or your colleagues. So if I go back to the dashboard, the next thing that I would want to do as an organization is to download an emergency action plan template. Now you may already have, your organization may already have something, so this may not be necessary for you. But as I said, this can be very helpful if you're starting from scratch to help you put something on paper. So this defaults to the EAP Advanced version, but if you'd like the more basic version, you can select that down here. And on the left, we have a number of topics here that we can decide to omit or include. As I said, if you go with the advanced option, there's up to 70 additional topics that you can include if you like. So like with the next steps report, you can view it here on the web page. So you can see some examples of some text, in this case related to shelter-in-place emergency signals. And with the next steps report, you can download it. And this is recommended. So again, it can be shared with staff, but also so it can be modified. There's a number of sections that are fillable or blank that should be populated with your organization's contact information or your organization's floor plan. So these are fully customizable. And so the last component I mentioned in my presentation was the resource center. So I just want to show you a couple of neat things about it. So again, it is broken down into those 5 topics: participation, emergency planning, extended community, facility and equipment, and so on. You can see those topics here. So if there's just one topic you're interested in, you can go straight there. These are also grouped by tag. So if there was something you were really looking for, like checklists, you could select checklist here. But I'm just going to hop into one of these categories and show you some interesting features. So I'm going to go into facility and equipment. Just going to view all at the moment. You can see them listed here. Now I'm just going to click on one of these to show you what this looks like. So here we're looking at a shelter-in-place supplies checklist, and you have that checklist here on the web page. But at the bottom, you have the option of downloading it. And one neat feature of the Ready Rating resource library is that every document has this sort of disclaimer in it, which you can see here on the left of the web page as well. And it says that you're welcome to modify, copy, reproduce, republish, upload, post, transmit, and distribute the materials found on the resource center, provided you use the following copyright notice. And in the document itself, there is a little text of copyright. So you really are welcome to take these resources and make them work for your organization, which I think is really neat, as long as credit is given to the Canadian and American Red Cross. So how to join? At the very top here, we have a join button, and here there are a few sections to fill out. So the person who is sort of representing the organization on the platform can put in their information, and you can select your sector, email address, and all that usual stuff. And then the next section is where the platform asks for just the name and the position of the authorized representative. So there may be someone who's using Ready Rating on a regular basis, but the platform is looking for sign off from a senior manager or a leader, someone in the leadership position, just so that the organization your organization knows that you are signing up for this platform on behalf of the organization. And then there's a membership agreement just outlining what the platform does and does not do. And then once you click through all of that, you are a member, and you can go ahead and start an assessment, download an emergency action plan. If there's any trouble using the website, there is a support button here, and this will pop you through to folks who can help you answer your questions, whether it's a technical issue with the website or a larger question about how you can use Ready Rating for your organization. So don't hesitate to use that. So that concludes the tour. and I'd be happy to take questions. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment here. And we'll open up the Q&A.
Thanks, Emily. So we have two questions. Both are from David Fraser. And the first one is, can I create a mock membership?
Yes, you can. If you do that, we encourage you to use the word test in as many fields as possible. First name test, last name test. Because we pull reports on, number of members on a regular basis, it's helpful to know which are test accounts and which are sort of authentic organizational accounts. But yes, please go ahead.
David also asks, how is the platform being promoted to Canadian businesses?
Great question. So as I mentioned, this platform has just launched in Canada just a few days ago. So we are initiating a rollout. These webinars are one way that we are promoting the platform. And so we'll be hosting 2 English and 2 French per month as of August. So there's one more session, July 24th, I believe, in English. And then, as I said, there'll be some in August and September. We'll be doing some media outreach and social media in August. And we are also working with our regional offices to promote the platform directly through people with whom we hold relationships. So those might be communities we've assisted with response to recovery. They could be government agencies, community partners, and so on. And so we would certainly appreciate any help with promotion. So if anyone here would like to share the platform on their networks, that would be certainly much appreciated. And if you have any suggestions for how we could promote it, certainly love to hear those. We're planning to do some outreach nationally as well to national organizations such as, for example, Insurance Bureau of Canada or Canadian Chamber of Commerce types of organizations that have networks of businesses, organizations that could benefit.
Great. And Emily, I see some questions coming in for you in the chat also.
Okay.
Oh, I can read them out loud. So Lynn asked, can you define a medium or small organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have a concrete definition of X number of employees means you're small, or X amount of budget means you're medium. We're really sort of referring to organizations that may have 50 or fewer staff. For example, that's not a hard number. But really organizations that perhaps don't have full-time dedicated emergency preparedness planning staff. And for whom doing this work might be a challenge. So it's sort of a self-definition. As I said, this platform is open to anybody. So if you feel like your organization would benefit from it, regardless of size, you are welcome to use it. I suppose there is a possibility that an organization might be too small. If you are a family-run restaurant with 3 employees, if you have a very, very small number of employees, this might be more than what you need. Of course, you're still welcome to use it and navigate through the resources. Possibly there is indeed something that you can use, but you may not be doing as robust level of emergency planning as, a medium-sized enterprise, for example. So I'll just say one other thing sort of related to that of regardless of maybe the size of your organization, the Ready Rating platform is meant to be helpful, and we encourage folks to sort of take what they want from it and customize it. If there's something in the next steps report that just maybe, or something in the assessment that just doesn't really feel relevant to your context, you can focus on the things that have more relevance to your organization. So especially if you're a small organization and you're going through the assessment and maybe you're finding it a little overwhelming, you're welcome to start with just a few of the items in the next steps report and just try and continually make progress. It doesn't have to be a massive initiative with multiple staff on it, all at once sort of thing.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Jane asks, are there different components of the assessment or the EAP based on your type of business? For example, if a group of food retailers versus a group of schools, wanted to create plans, or is it generic enough for all business types?
It's been designed to be generic enough. In the resource center, there are a couple of resources specific to schools and places of worship, but otherwise they're quite general. We are looking to add content to the resource center in the coming months and years that speak to different contexts and possibly business types or sort of agricultural settings versus urban settings and so on. So if you have suggestions, if you're on there and you really think there's a topic that's missing, we'd love to hear from you about what that is. But it's generic, and then I think you have the flexibility to tailor if you need. I should also say here that it is generic in the sense that it doesn't speak to different regulatory environments in different provinces. If schools are required to do emergency preparedness planning in a certain way per regulation in a specific province, that ready rating is general and perhaps it can help, but it's not linked to specific regulations in Canada or the US.
Awesome. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat or the Q&A box, but if anyone does have any last questions for Emily, now is your chance. Going once, going twice. And like we said, the recording will be available. And if you do have questions after the fact, you can reach us through our mailbox, and we'll make sure to pass the query on to Emily afterwards.
April, I'm also going to put in the chat the Ready Rating email address. If you just want to reach out directly to me about the program, I'm on the other end of that inbox, that email address.
Yeah.
This is the English version, but please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about the platform.
Awesome. And I just wanted to quickly share the next two webinars that are coming up in our programming. There's one tomorrow in French, Introduction to Psychological First Aid. And then our next English presentation is on Tuesday on caring for self and others from an Indigenous perspective. We hope you can join us. But besides that, thank you so much, Emily, for your presentation and for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.